everyone, my name is Nurul Afifa and I'm really excited to share my thoughts on a quote by Carol Ann Tomlinson, one of the leading voices in the field of differentiated instruction. She said, differentiated instruction is not a set of strategies, but a way of thinking about teaching and learning. At first glance, it might sound like a simple statement, but the meaning behind it is profound. It reminds us that being an effective teacher is not about memorizing methods or using trendy classroom strategies. Instead, it's about adopting a mindset that sees every student as capable, unique, and worthy of support. As a future educator, this quote inspires me to think beyond just what I teach and focus more on how my students learn. Differentiated instruction is not something we do occasionally. It is a belief system that guides how we plan lessons, interact with students, and create learning opportunities that fit their needs. So, what exactly is differentiated instruction or DI? According to Tomlinson 2021, differentiated instruction means modifying content, process, product, and learning environment based on student readiness, interests, and learning profiles. In other words, differentiation is not about lowering standards or giving easier work. It's about providing multiple paths to understanding, making sure every student has access to the same learning goals, but through approach that suit them best. For example, if I'm teaching a lesson on environmental conservation, I might allow one student to create a poster, another to write a persuasive essay, and another to present a short video. The objective remains the same, but the way they demonstrate learning is flexible. This mindset acknowledges that students learn at different paces and through different methods, and that's completely normal. Our job as a teacher is to design lessons that respect those differences rather than ignore them. Let's begin with the first critical component, readiness. Readiness refers to a student's current level of understanding or skill in relation to the topic being taught. Every classroom is filled with the learners who are at different starting point. For instance, in a secondary school English class, some students might already write fluently in English, while others still struggle with basic grammar. If I teach them all the same way, at the same pace, some students will feel bored, while others will feel lost. To address this differentiated instruction, encourage teachers to assess readiness before starting a unit. I might use a short diagnostic quiz or a brainstorming activity to gauge what students already know. Based on that, I can group them flexibly, not permanently, and design tasks that meet their needs. For example, for advanced learners, I might assign a creative writing project that challenges them to use complex sentence structure. For developing learners, I might focus more on sentence formation and guided writing exercise. This ensures that all students experience success and progress from their current level. But readiness is not only academic, it can also be emotional or social. Some students might need more encouragement or confidence before they can take risks in learning. Therefore, being sensitive to each student, readiness also means being empathic to their emotional needs. As Tomlinson 2023 remind us differentiation begins with knowing the learner. And I think that the heart of readiness, understanding where students are before helping them move forward. The second component is interest. Interest refers to what captures a student's curiosity and passion. When lessons are connected to things students care about, they are more engaged and motivated to learn. Imagine teach a topic like persuasive writing. Instead of assigning a generic essay, I could let students choose their topic. Maybe one write about climate change, another about video game, and another about animal rights. The core skill of persuasive writing remains the same, but now students are emotionally invested because they are writing about something meaningful to them. Research has shown that connecting instruction to student interests can improve engagement and retention. It also helps build a more positive classroom culture where students feel seen and valued. As a future teacher, I plan to use simple strategies to discover my students' interests, such as interest surveys, informal conversation, or observation. I can then incorporate those interests into lesson, example reading materials, or classroom project. Differentiating by interest is not just about fun, it's about making learning relevant. When students see how lessons relate to their life, they are more likely to take ownership of their learning. The third component is learning style, sometimes referred to as learning profiles. Every student learns differently. Some prefer visual, others prefer sound or movement. While learning style theory have evolved, the key point remains: students respond differently to different teaching approaches. Therefore, as a teacher, I should design lessons that provide variety and choice. For example, in a science lesson about photosynthesis, visual learner could benefit from diagrams and animation. Auditory learner might learn best from group discussion or teacher explanation. And kinesthetic learners will enjoy conducting a small planned experiment by providing multiple modes of input and output. I allow every student to engage with the content in a way that suits them. However, it's also important not to label students strictly. Instead of saying you are a visual learner, so you only learn this way, I want to expose all students to different styles because flexibility is a part of real-life learning. As Tomlinson 2021 explained, effective differentiation is not about teaching 30 different lessons for 30 students, but about planning rich and flexible instruction that invites all learners to participate meaningfully. In short, acknowledging learning style is about respecting diversity in how students process information and using that diversity as a classroom strength. The fourth and final component is the learning environment. A differentiated classroom is more than just colorful posters or flexible seating. It's about creating a climate where every student feels safe, respected, and capable of success. In my future classroom, I want to build an environment that encourages collaboration, respect, and curiosity. This means designing physical space that support both group and independent learning, as well as promoting positive relationship among students. For instance, I might create learning stations where students can move around to explore different activities at their own pace. I will also establish classroom norms that emphasize empathy and growth mindset, reminding students that mistakes are part of learning, not something to be ashamed of. According to Anderson and Hattie 2022, a positive classroom climate significantly improves student motivation and achievement. Therefore, differentiation must include not only what we teach, but also how students feel while learning. When students know their voice matters and their individuality is accepted, they become more confident learners, and that's the foundation of the lifelong learning. To conclude, I believe Carol Ann Tomlinson quote captured the essence of what it means to be a truly effective teacher. Differentiated instruction is not a set of strategies, but a way of thinking about teaching and learning. It reminds us that differentiation is not about having the perfect worksheet or activity. It's about having the right attitude, a belief that all students can learn just in different ways and at different speed. As future educators, we must see ourselves not just as transmitters or knowledge, but as designers of learning. In the end, differentiation is about mindset. It's about shifting from how do I teach this topic to how will my student best learn this topic. And when we start thinking that way, we not only teach content, we teach people. Thank you for listening.